Now, let me tell you about a man named David. Ask anybody in that little church, and they'd tell you the same thing. David was the good one, the dependable one. First one there before the sun came up. Last one to turn off the lights. If something needed carrying, David carried it, and everybody loved him for it. But what nobody knew, what David himself had never once stopped to consider, was that the man handing everybody all that living water had run bone dry a long, long time ago. He just kept lowering the bucket anyway, night after night, year after year, into a well that had nothing left to give. He thought that was faithfulness. He never knew it was the wrong well. Now, David had a wife, Renee, and she loved him, but she'd been watching him disappear for years, one good deed at a time. She never asked him for much, just him, but there wasn't much of him left to give. And one night, Renee finally said out loud what she had been holding for years, that he poured himself out for everybody, and there was nothing left for them, nothing left for him. He told her he was fine. He always told her he was fine. The truth was, David didn't know how to be anything else, because somewhere back down the line, he had learned that love was something you earned, and he'd been trying to earn it his whole life. At the church, they had a name for men like David. They called him Faithful. Pastor Tom would lay a hand on his shoulder and say, "You're the only one I can trust with this," and hand him one more thing to carry. The church gave David a covenant of doing. Pray more, fast longer, give more, serve more. And when he was still empty after doing all of it, the church handed him a longer list. Nobody meant him any harm. They just kept asking the branch to make fruit, and never once asked about the root. It happened on an ordinary Tuesday, an empty church, long after everyone had gone. David was stacking the chairs, the way he always did, when something in him just stopped. He wasn't weeping. He was just empty. A man who had given everything, kneeling in the wreckage of his own effort, with nothing left. And in the dark, he whispered the only thing he had left to say. "I did everything you asked." And for the first time in his life, David had no more to give. That's when he heard the door. Eli, the old man who kept the grounds, the one nobody really noticed. He'd been at that church longer than the pastor, longer than the paint on the walls. He shuffled in with a watering can, saw David on the floor, and he didn't rush. He didn't quote a verse. He just looked at the little dying plant on the welcome table, and he said, "That plant's not dying because you don't care about it, son. It's dying because you keep giving it what you've got. It don't need your coffee, it needs living water. Roots don't drink effort." David looked up, and Eli said the thing that broke it all open. "Neither do you. Your faith is not failing. Your source is wrong." David had never once considered it, that a man could do everything right and still be drawing from the wrong well. And it landed on him like water on cracked ground. He had been the source, pouring himself out drop by drop, when he was never meant to be the source at all. The old man is not sick, he is dead. The striving, the earning, the endless list. God did not come to renovate the old man. He came to replace him entirely. David hadn't needed a longer list. He needed a new life. Christ in the heavens is religion. Christ in you is the gospel. Letting go was the hardest thing David ever did. He stepped back from a role. Pastor Tom didn't understand it. And for the first time in his life, David chose the new source over everyone's approval. And it cost him. And then David did something he hadn't done in years. Nothing. He sat, he received. He let the living water do what all his effort never could. True rest is not laziness. True rest is not passivity. True rest is the most radical act of faith you will ever perform. David wasn't the source anymore. He was finally simply the branch. Eli repotted the little plant. New soil, real water, sunlight instead of cold coffee. And in a few weeks, it came back to life. David went back to that church, but he didn't go back to carry it. He went back full. And the man who used to pour out an empty cup finally had something real to give, because he'd stopped being the well and started drinking from it. That's what this is about. Not more effort, not more striving, not a longer list. Just this. The wrong source finally exposed, and the right one, the Christ who was in him all along, finally revealed. If something in you just came alive, you're in the right place. Come back, because we are only getting started. What you have just watched is, in many ways, my own story. Before I could ever enter into his life, I first had to come to that same place of rest. And if this was your story too, I want to speak to you directly. If you have lost all your faith, reach out. If you have questions about the Bible, the ones that would finally make it all make sense, reach out. If you are searching for the right way, reach out. This is a brand new channel, and it was created with specifically you in mind. Come and be part of this community and discover how God's universal church was always meant to work together with the local church. Wherever you are in your spiritual life, if you need direction, reach out. You can find me at malcolmsmithofficial@gmail.com. Subscribe to Malcolm Smith Official, come back, and leave your questions in the comments below.